Great things come out of relationships, especially in business. It is all about relationships, right? No matter whether it's high heels or it's engineering, it's all about people and relationships.
Welcome to Flip Your Script, the podcast about life's critical turning points and how people find the inspiration and motivation to move forward and rewrite their unique stories. Flip Your Script is produced by Media Minefield, a public relations firm passionate about the power of sharing stories. Specializing in earned and social media, Media Minefield helps clients take control of their unique story and message. The show is hosted by Kristi Piehl, founder and CEO of Media Minefield, who flipped her script from an Emmy-winning journalist to a successful entrepreneur and speaker.
Would you ever expect an engineer passionate about the sciences to launch a company focusing on high heels? It's about the last thing I expected when Dee Hays, a dear friend, said she wanted to show me an idea for her new business. Dee is an accomplished and award-winning entrepreneur and engineer. She lives in Oklahoma, and her firm, Excellence Engineering, works on large-scale projects in the oil and gas industry. She's often the only woman in the room and was recently appointed to a special commission by the governor of Oklahoma. Welcome to the Flip Your Script podcast, Dee.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
I know this isn't your comfortable space, and I really appreciate you doing this because your story has so many elements that it is going to impact and motivate other people. And you're one of these people that could go their whole life and never tell it.
Thank you. Again, it's an honor to be here and to share my story and anything I can do to help other women and especially girls, both in STEM and entrepreneurs who are looking for a future in business.
So I think I want to start with how we know each other and then go backwards. So because I said at the beginning that I knew about your new business, and the way that I knew about your new business is that there's 5 of us. There were eight of us, 5 of us that travel together now who met through a national program called C200.
That's great.
And for female entrepreneurs. So we met about 5-ish years ago, graduated the program, stayed friends, and now do traveling and talk about our businesses and help each other and learn from each other on these trips and business trips. So in February of 2021, you sent a message to all of us. I have something to show you. Bring a pair of high heels. That was it. That was all that you told us. And we sat outside, and most of us were like in swimsuits and cover-ups and high heels, not what I normally wear around a pool. And you brought this product out, and it was a little mind-blowing. What do you remember about that encounter?
That's a really good, accurate description of the whole thing. I think being an engineer, you guys all know me as an engineer working in construction and oil and gas and utilities. And for me to bring out, number one, high heels, I think that was probably a little off the charts for you guys, that I was asking for that. And then number 2, to have something that would be a tool or something that would help women everywhere. It's not just something, again, it's not an engineering thing that I normally work in. So this is something that was anybody can use, can wear, that likes to wear high heels, something that can be in the fashion line or in the support line for your heels. It's for everybody. And I think and I've told the story many times of you trying it on, and I even have pictures of it because you stood there in awe looking like, who are you? And where did this come from? So I think it was a huge impetus for me, like, oh my gosh, this might really be something that can help other people. So that's what I remember.
Your story, the HeelzFirst part of it, so it's called HeelzFirst, HeelzFirst, first, spelled out, one word, .com. Go on social, find the product, buy the product. But when you showed it to us, and this is so important for people who want to start businesses, you didn't come to us and say, here's my new business, I'm going to sell it and make $1 billion. You said, I invented something to help me. What do you think of it? And we said, you need to make more of these. You can help more people. Right. And that's such an important factor for people who want to start businesses, is it started from this place of, I have a problem. I can't find a solution. Right. I made a solution. Could I help other people? So let's talk about why you invented HeelzFirst. And if you're listening and you're like, I'm driving, I can't pull over and Google this thing. Basically, it's something that is on the outside of your heel. It goes over your high heel and it holds the high heel to your ankle to your foot, and it makes it more comfortable in a way that's a little shocking.
Right. And secure. For me, I invented it because of the security. I had just had major back surgery a year ago, and I love high heels. I tell everybody I'm a high heel-aholic.
Okay, I'm going to pause. How many pairs of high heels do you have, Dee?
Let's just go with a lot.
Oh, okay,
Let's just go with a lot. A lot. Let's just leave it at that.
a lot. Really a lot.
Yeah, nobody has ever guessed the number, but it's a lot.
Do you know the number?
I don't know the exact number. It's more than 500.
Oh, that's more than I would have even guessed. More than 500 pairs of high heels. So you have this back surgery and you have hundreds of pairs of high heels and you want to wear them again, but think, oh no, I can never wear them again.
I can't. And also the other thing was that after my back surgery, I could feel my feet again. So the fit of my shoes was a big thing. They didn't fit because now they hurt my feet because I'd been buying shoes too small. And I had a couple of pairs that I had bought too big that I had never worn that actually fit, but I couldn't keep them on my feet. So I needed to figure out how can I wear my high heels now and how can I keep them on my feet so they're secure. I can't fall. I have 10 screws, 2 rods in my back. So just coming out of back surgery. So it was a big deal to have high heels fit securely, comfortably, that I could wear them and walk in them.
And the first thing that I said to you when I saw them and when I put them, I think it wasn't until I put them on, because you look at them and they don't look like, much. You can't really tell what they do. And then I put them on and I was shocked at how different they made my feet feel. But then also I was like, surely someone else invented this already. Like, nice try, Dee. Glad you spent 6 months working on this. But someone else must have already done this. And no one else has.
It is not out there anywhere. There's nothing. The products that are out there that help women wear heels or shoes are products that you wedge inside your shoe, the rubber things or the foam things. But there's nothing out there that is just a single soft sleeve that goes around your foot and helps your shoe stay on.
So you're a high heel-aholic. But when I saw pictures of you doing your engineering thing. I know it's more than a thing, but we start talking engineering and my eyes are going to glaze over. So I don't know exactly what you do, but I've seen pictures of what you do. Yes. And you're not a very tall woman. You're a petite woman. And I've seen you in pictures with like a hard hat and giant oil rigs. Yep. And in my mind, you work sort of in a J.R. Ewing, for people who are too young to know what that is, like a Dallas, the show. It came out as a reboot, so maybe younger people might know the reboot, but a very male-dominated, sort of backwards in thinking kind of world. And that has been your experience. You're often literally the only woman around.
Most of the time. Most of the time, I'm the only woman in the room, yes.
And you're a trained engineer. You went to Harvard recently for more schooling. You've won all sorts of awards. The governor has now just put you on something which is an incredible honor. It's an honor to know you. But how did you in the 80s say, you know what, I'm going to go into this?
I think it was more of a God-given talent and probably what I was destined to do. My dad was an engineer, so I grew up taking things apart, working. I was big in math. I loved math problems. I loved taking things and building things. So it was kind of a natural path for me. I didn't think about it as I'd be the only woman in the room. When I went to college, I was, again, one of very few women in a very large class of all men. So I never really thought of it as that was going to be a thing, right? But it was, and especially in the 80s, there aren't very many women that graduated with engineering degrees. But as time has gone on, it has improved, but not enough. So we still don't see enough women, girls going into the STEM careers, whether it's nursing, doctoring, pharmacy, heavy on the STEM side. We still, especially in engineering is the hardest thing to get girls and women into. It's a hard field. Doesn't always have to be utilities or oil and gas or something. I definitely went into the worst of the worst of the worst as far as for women, right? But I love what I do. I love making a difference. And I know that even though that the energy sector is really taking a black eye right now in the world, it's a great opportunity for engineers to make even a bigger difference and make things better. I love to focus on problems and solutions for those problems. And more than ever, this is a great time to be an engineer and to help focus on how can we make things better in our world and for our Earth.
And we've talked about it before, but I think when we say make things better for the Earth, we go, well, that means no more gas. We just need electricity. We need electric cars. I feel like that's sort of the narrative that's out there. And that is not your, like, even just saying it, because we're sitting in the same room, you like bristled a little, like, no. So why do we get that wrong?
Well, electricity doesn't grow on trees, literally, right? So how do you make electricity? Natural gas is what we don't use coal fire anymore. So natural gas is part of what makes electricity, is the biggest maker of electricity. It's the biggest route of making electricity now. So it's not about getting rid of it. It's about making it better. And we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater just because, I mean, for generations, we've done what we've needed to as a society with the oil and gas. Let's not forget, it helped put men on the moon. It's helped get us all to work. It's helped so many things in our world, but not saying it's without fault. So we just need to make it better. And as engineers, that's what we can do. And I think these two things can work hand in hand, and we can definitely get a much cleaner environment and a much cleaner Earth. And this doesn't have to be an either or situation. And it doesn't mean that it has to be bad for the Earth at the same time.
Did you ever, as a young woman or going through the ranks of your career, or even as you're talking now in the different circles that you're in, did you ever feel, maybe ashamed is too strong of a word, but did you ever feel like you had to dumb down your intellect?
That's the first time that's ever been asked of me. No, because I've never actually really thought of myself as a smart person, I guess, or an intellectual person. It's just what I do.
Dee, you went to Harvard.
I won a scholarship to go to Harvard is why. But again, as an entrepreneur, I won a scholarship to go back. And it was a business degree. But yes, and it's a huge, huge, huge honor to go back and go through the OPM program. But I never thought I would get to do that. So it's just an honor. I think the point for me was hard work will get you anywhere. That's what I focus on is hard work, determination, resilience. And that's true for both being a woman engineer, being an engineer in general, or being an entrepreneur, or coming up with a new product. I think it's just what you got to have. You got to have a lot of tenacity to keep on going.
And you've had decades of needing tenacity, because we do this all the time on this podcast, where here's the one version of my life. It's, the social media version. You're not on social, so don't even try and find it, listeners. And then there's this other version that is like the real story. And your path from, I love what my dad is doing. I love my dad. I'm going to follow this path. I'm being encouraged to go down a sciences path. I'm going to start companies. I'm going to do these things, because you've had more than one company and you've had some very successful exits. And then I'm going to launch this HeelzFirst. Bravely, boldly fund the whole thing myself and launch it out into the world. That sounds like a very lovely, easy fairy tale path. That is not your experience, because while all this was going professionally, your family isn't a fairy tale.
No, not at all.
And it's been a little public.
Yes.
So first of all, how much of that do you want to share? I'll leave that to you. And then how did you not let that bring you to the point where you went, and I'm out. I don't have the mental capacity to do one more thing.
I think being a very logical person, I'm able to separate those two things mentally. So I'm able to keep my personal life somewhat on one side of me and my business life on the other side. So yes, my family life has been very rough, especially as an adult after college, after actually having successful businesses. But I have been able to separate those two things and not let one interfere with the other. Not saying they haven't, but in my mind, it's not, I don't let one come in the door of the other one.
And your father has passed away.
He did.
You're estranged with your living family members.
That's correct.
And you would say, I suspect, that you've created your own family because you really don't have the blood support that one would associate often with family.
That's correct. That's correct. And you can't pick your family. We always hear that, but you really can. And I feel like I have so many great people in my life that are not only encouraging and supporting and are always there, good times and bad times. And so in some ways, yeah, I've created my own family, and I don't think of it any other way.
And you don't have children.
I don't have children of my own.
But you do have pet babies.
I do have fur babies. I have 4 babies.
And she, like, if you could see her face, she's just like lighting up talking about the puppies, the doggies. And you have cattle and a ranch and all these things.
I do.
So are there times when you think, whether it's Mother's Day or a birthday or something, like, man, I wish my family was here, or no?
Not so much. I stay really busy. And I guess, again, I'm not a real emotional person to that kind of thing. I think, again, if you don't have kids, I'm sure a lot of that comes when you have kids. But no, I'm not going to say I don't think about it, but it's not a big thing for me.
You're past it.
I'm past it.
And when we met, 5-ish years ago, I don't think you would have said that you had family.
I don't. Often I don't. I mean, I don't feel like I do.
And not just the blood relation family, but you struggle even to open yourself up to other people, like the friend,
very much.
Our friend group.
Correct.
That's new for you.
That's very new for me. Yeah.
And you're not 20. I mean, you're 30, but
yes.
So, like, you spent a lot of decades of your life pretty alone.
Yes.
So you threw yourself into work.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give your 20-year-old self, 30-year-old self about opening up? Or are you fine that you waited until this time in your life to be vulnerable with other people?
Oh, no, I would definitely, to my 20-year-old self, and even to, college kids that I mentor or high school kids, I think having people in your life is important. I really, really do. For me, it's really hard to open up, and it's really hard to trust people. But it's just like in business, things are going to happen, and mistakes are going to happen, and you're going to get burned, but it's part of life. And so you fail fast in business and you move on. And I think with people, things are going to happen, and it's just part of the story in your life. But you move on. But there's also a lot of great things that happen with people. Great things come out of relationships, especially in business. It is all about relationships, right? No matter whether it's high heels or it's engineering, it's all about people and relationships. So I think for me in college, I wasn't good at that. I was obviously an introvert, and again, one of few women. So I studied a lot with other people, but I had my own clique, my own circle of friends that I studied with. But I think looking back, I think I would have wished I would have been involved more with more types of clubs and, like whatever clubs in college. They're definitely different now than they were back then. But just being around people and getting out, meeting people, seeing other things, doing things, experiencing things. You mentioned our group of the Fabulous Five that we have now. We go, we do lots of things. We see lots of places. We talk about a lot of things, both business, personal, family, kids, all kinds of things. And I think that is important in your life. And a lot of people get that from family, whether it's, again, your family that you have as children, children or whatever, or a family that you create. It's what you make of it. But I love having people in my life. I do. I love having people in my life.
It's so interesting that we both do the same thing because we're passionate about that college, younger 20-something kind of age group, because you can make some decisions that impact your entire life.
That's correct.
And we both have this perspective that that's the time to go try things and go do things. And
absolutely.
See what's out there.
Absolutely. You have to do it before you get tied down, raising kids or, running a business even has a lot of responsibilities to it. There's so many things that happen as your life goes on, right? And you grow and you age. But yeah, go see, experience, make friends, make new stories and adventures and enjoy the world. There's so much to see on this earth and now outside of the earth. So I just think there's so many opportunities out there. And I think you should embrace every single one that you have an opportunity to do.
We went to dinner last night. We're talking about it. One of my major regrets is I had the opportunity in college to go work at the Olympics, at the Atlanta Olympics, and to work, broadcasting and communications and run cameras and that kind of thing. And I said, no, I got married instead. And I wouldn't change that I got married. And I wouldn't change who I got married to. But we've been married 25 years. A few more months would have been fine. But when you're 20, the perspective of a few months is a lot different than 20, 30 years later looking back on it. So I think that we both have things that if we could go back with the
Absolutely.
perspective of time and playing the long game,
Right.
we would have done a little differently.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think some of that is just take time to smell the roses along the way, right? I think for me in college, I was so busy like taking the next class and working and next class and hurrying through to get out of college, right? And I think not saying that I would have taken longer to get out of college, I just would have put a little bit more energy into some other things, right? Just, whether it's an internship, seeing something new, or like you could have gone to the Olympics and worked. Oh my goodness, what a great opportunity.
And we're similar in that we also didn't have communities of people like we have now saying, you should go do this, right? You should. And I'm sure I did. And if you're listening and you were one of those people, I'm sorry I didn't listen to you. But I don't have the kind of friendships I didn't then that I do now. And that's the gift of maybe age, the gift of wisdom, the gift of understanding what you need to have a fulfilled life.
Right.
And you've had a long-term love interest partner, boyfriend, fiance, whatever you have found your other person.
Yes.
And that has certainly given you the support and boost, because starting another business in a totally different, it's not like you started another oil and gas business, which you know how to do, or an engineering business. Right. HeelzFirst is something you literally have no idea when it's coming to products and packaging. And this isn't just like a Control-C on your last thing. You're learning as someone, whether you're 20 or 30 or 40, you're learning how to do all of this for the first time. And having him there has certainly helped you do what you've been able to do.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Wade has been a rock. Entrepreneurs are not easy people to be around, especially when you work and have several businesses. It's definitely a challenge at times, to say the least. But he's been a rock. He's been there regardless if it's, making sure I eat, or helping package. Right now we're packaging like crazy. So he jumped right in and helped with that. Or again, we live on a farm and I travel a lot. So he's constantly taking care of animals and office. And, if we need something done at our office, he's the guy that jumps in and hangs things on the wall and fixes issues we have. I mean, he's been terrific. He's supported me. He's traveled with me. He's seen my careers go up and down, go through hard times. Obviously, last year was a hard time for everybody in business, right? With COVID, it was a hard time all the way around. And he was support all the way through everything.
I think there's this perspective out there that, you have someone with you, and to be with an entrepreneur, to be with someone who has financial resources is like cruises and traveling and chefs and like all the things. But last year, he was putting your socks on for you for months. So that's the reality of what having actual support looks like.
It does. When you have everything taken away from you, I mean, you can't get out of a chair by yourself. You can't put your socks on. I mean, I spent 5 months, I could not bend over. I had to totally stay straight up and down with my back. I was in a back brace and I couldn't wear flip-flops. I couldn't put any shoes on because they don't want you to fall in flip-flops. So you have to have the right kind of socks on. I mean, all these things come into play, and somebody has to put them on your feet, or you go barefooted. So it's crazy the things that you go from. Oh yeah, it's just this rock star living to I can't put the socks on my feet.
And the mindset that to have someone next to you or with you, beside you, however people say that all different ways, is the gift. And I think for someone who's ambitious and driven and independent, you say, I got this myself. And then there are things that happen in your life where you're like, turns out I actually need people.
Right.
And was that humbling, hard for you to even accept the help?
Oh, without a doubt.
Because you're not someone who's calling and like you've been like even since I've known you, you've had some tough times. Mm-hmm. And it isn't until I ask a lot of questions that you're even out with it.
Right.
You're not the person like crying, calling, help. I mean, you'd be crawling down the hallway, helping someone else before you'd ask for help.
Right. And I think asking for help was harder than taking it, to be honest with you. Because by the time I was, after my back surgery, I knew it was coming. I knew I was, and it was major back surgery. So, I mean, you don't have a choice. You can't move. But asking for it, saying this is going to happen to me and I need help, and that was harder than the actual going through it.
And even putting ourselves, that's a pretty extreme situation, but putting ourselves in situations where we don't feel confident. Even the way that we met was a situation where 8 strangers walk into a room and say, "Hi, nice to meet you. Let's go on this 3-year journey together that we don't even know what's happening." And that was a pretty brave move on behalf of a bunch of people.
Right. And we talked about a lot of things about our businesses. It was a business thing. So we talked about a lot of things within our businesses that is now I know is more normal talk when you're talking about a business, right? We talk about whether it's revenue or HR issues or regulation issues or whatever it is. Some of those things in the past, I would have thought that was like, you just don't talk about those things. So again, it was a learning curve, and it's definitely been better with talking about issues, business issues with people as well as personal things. Again, having people in your life is a big deal, but yeah, opening up at first, when we first started, that was a big, big deal for me.
It was hard.
It was hard.
Nice to meet you. Here's my profit and loss sheet, my revenue, my bank account. I mean, it's a very strange, it's a very strange thing because
it is.
That I think for me anyway, it feels like if I show you all of this, you can then judge me and decide if I'm good or bad at what I do.
Right.
And if I love what I do, I don't want you to tell me I'm bad at what I do.
Right. It's a very humbling experience.
And yet, without showing it to people, you can't get their help.
Right.
And we all made each other better.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
It's all backwards.
It is. But it's a great group of people in general. I'm sure anytime you reach out to people, that happens, right? It just we were so fortunate that we were how we ended up with each other. Gosh, so much growth came out of that. I was literally, I couldn't even talk the first day when we introduced our businesses and what we do and where we're from. It was hard. It was really, really hard. And that wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
Right.
We've come a long way.
Yes.
Who knew you'd have a high heel business? I still can't even wrap my head around it. Because Dee is I can't think of a better way to say it, but a very girly girl. Right? Like, wouldn't you say? I mean, you're so, and you see engineer, and you sort of have this stereotype, and then you walk in a room, and right now you're wearing like a patterned, I don't want to say cougar because that's a whole nother like thing, right? But like a patterned dress, and you've got rings on and makeup and jewelry and your hair up. And I think engineers like get a bad rap because if someone put, if we had you behind a curtain right now and people listening to a podcast can't see you, and I describe all the ways that I described you at the beginning and left out the high heel part, and they had a visual image of what you look like, it isn't what you look like. And that's a bummer because we do that in all sorts of parts of our life. And it's not helping women get into STEM.
It's not.
Especially in Oklahoma.
Right.
Which is even more male dominated. And then you throw into that, there's so few women in STEM, and then so few women of color or people of color in STEM that we're not getting all the solutions that we need in the world, whether it be oil and gas or high heels.
Right.
We all got problems, right?
That's right.
We all need solutions.
That's right.
So what's next for you?
Well,
is there another business?
No. I think HeelzFirst is definitely a challenge in the sense that I've never had a product-based business. I've also never had a non-technical business. So this is a real challenge for me. I love it, though. It definitely fulfills me in different ways. I love the creative side, colors and fabrics, and the opportunity for style and fashion. Again, I always say, the other business was my left brain, and this is my right brain's business. So, but I love the challenge. I still have my engineering business and still am the CEO there. Still have engineers that work for me. So right now I'm doing both. But someday I will retire, and my goal is that HeelzFirst becomes the next big thing out there, and that it does. It helps women and girls everywhere. In the meantime, I hope to help as many women and girls and people of color to get into STEM and engineering and math and sciences. There's so many problems out there that need solved, and with technology today, there's so many new solutions.
And your dream is to meet Elon Musk.
Oh, I would love to meet Elon Musk and Sarah Blakely.
All right.
My two heroes.
Elon Musk and Sarah Blakely. If anybody listening knows them, right? Left brain, right brain. It's such an interesting combination. Did you know that this whole creative side was part of you until you really got into HeelzFirst and how much you enjoy it? Because you just light up talking about, I mean, it's still kind of weird for me, Dee, the color. You talk about colors and fabrics and your sewing stuff and you're bedazzling, not really, but putting baubles and things on these things for shoes. It's so not what I knew you as.
Right. I think though, if you actually take a step back from that, thinking outside the box is what I do best.
True.
And so I love that there isn't, it's a blank slate. So I get to make these things into anything I want as far as how they look. So I do. I love, number one, that it solves a problem. There's a solution out there. But number two, the style, the looks, the depth of different kind of what you can do with it is endless. You can take a pair of shoes that you've had in your closet for forever and don't wear it because it doesn't go anything. And now you can put a pretty HeelzFirst on it or something with some kind of jewelry or brooch or something and change the whole look, and it just spices everything up in a good way. And we yesterday went for a walk when we got here, and how many people in the hour and a half stopped and said, "Oh my gosh, I love your shoes."
And we weren't going for a walk in a park. We were in a mall because I do love your product. I'm wearing them now, but I would not wear them on a walk. I mean, they're not that comfortable. I'm not going running in them. Maybe we should try this.
Right.
I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe I should go for a 5K with your HeelzFirst on and see what happens. But we were walking through a mall and people kept stopping, and I've worn them, and people always say, "Oh, I love your shoes." And then when I show them that it's actually not the shoe, it's a thing on the shoe, they're always shocked.
Right.
Because it looks like they're supposed to be together.
Right. And you can make it where it looks like part of the shoe or where it really doesn't look like part of the shoe, right? It's just however you want to wear it.
Right. And the other thing that I love about your story, which is why I wanted you on the podcast, because you have flipped your script a few times, is that you right now at this point in your career could be done. Like you could be, thanks for playing, fun being an engineer, I'll see you in Bora Bora, right? I mean, except for your animals, that would be a problem. But you don't need to think of the next business because right now the next business is just nothing but a giant expense, headache, and time. I mean, you love it. It's a passion project, and you can help other people.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you're a creative person and if you like to solve problems, never stop.
Right.
Don't limit yourself and put an end on what that looks like, because you have a time where you like, okay, engineering, thank you.
Right.
Because of just the schedule. But you're never going to be done creating and innovating. And there are folks out there who finish the main career, or whatever they think the main career is, and that's it. They just kind of put the hands up and walk away.
Right.
And then if you would have done that, you wouldn't have solved this problem. And who knows what the next problem is for you to solve, or the next young woman that you're going to inspire.
Right. And I think it's a blessing. I mean, again, I enjoy it. I love it. It's a passion, and I'm lucky that I kind of stumbled onto it. I wouldn't recommend having back surgery to create a new product, but you make lemonade when you have lemons, right? So that's kind of what happened, and I stumbled on it. I'm enjoying everything I'm doing. I love it. You're right. It's full of learning curves and lots of stumbling blocks, but you just take them one at a time. And like I said, hard work and tenacity, and you just keep on going. But I love what I'm doing. I love the apparel industry. I guess you could say it's in the apparel industry, but I love that this is kind of uncharted waters, because we do a lot with everything else that we wear and we have, whether it's your hair, your makeup, your clothes, your jeans, but not a lot has been done for the women's high heel industry. We have beautiful, beautiful shoes out there, but what has really been done to help women to wear their high heels comfortably? We just continue to squish our feet in them to keep them on, and we go about it. And I don't think, especially men, probably don't understand sometimes really what the torture, we'll use torture as the word, because sometimes it is. By the end of the day, you get home and you feel like, somebody's been beating on your feet all day. And so this is a great way, to be comfortable and to express yourself in a different way. Again, you can do so many things with HeelzFirst.
So if a young woman hears this, here's your story, they read about your story, I imagine when you get confirmed by the Senate and that all becomes public in the state of Oklahoma, people are going to Google you and look you up and see what you're doing. And young women are going to say, okay, I could do that. What part of your story do you want them to look at and say, I could do that?
The tenacity part. You always want to do things. I heard things when I was younger in my career. Oh, if you do this, that'll happen. And it doesn't. It's a process. Everything is a process. So you got to have goals. You got to work hard towards those goals. And I think, again, networking, I think the things that have happened in my career, especially since I've become an entrepreneur, have happened because I do put myself out there. I do get in front of people, ask questions. And more has happened in my career and with my businesses toward the end of it. And I think that is because there's more people in my network now. Not at the beginning. So I think, again, networking is really a big deal, getting in front of people. I think hard work is another big part of it. And don't be afraid to fail. Just fail fast. I think that's what I would tell my 20-year-old self, and I would tell a young person out there. And probably what you think you're going to be is not exactly. I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. I always thought I would be an engineer when I got out of college. I always thought I would be, a hardcore engineer. I love engineering. So this wasn't on my map either, but it happened. It's a blessing, and I'm having so much fun with it. So that's even a bigger blessing.
And there's this stereotype breaking that's happening all around. I mean, even when I talked about what people think when they think female engineer, that's a horrible stereotype.
It is.
Because it's based on, I don't even know what that's based on.
Right.
It's not fair.
Right.
And it's keeping people from going into a career path that they perhaps are on this planet to go down that path.
Right. And engineers and programmers and scientists, they just bring so much to our lives each and every day. If you look around you, one of those three paths has touched your life. Whether it was NASA, types of medication, or the types of clothes you wear, as far as the textiles and the types of fabric. There's so many things in our lives that have come because of technology, because of science, because of math, because of the people who have that kind of passion. And to have more people go into it, the better we can do. So yeah, I'm a huge cheerleader for the STEM world, and especially for girls. I think we bring so much to the table. I think we're not afraid to think outside the box. So I think that everybody brings something to the table.
And you talked about networking and the importance of networking and how you wish you would have done that perhaps earlier. And I just was talking to someone who told me that there's a new article or new study out that when people hear the word networking, what's happening in their brains is that they actually are thinking about buying hygiene products because they actually feel dirty talking about networking. Like, this is a real study. It actually came out. We'll find the link, put it on the website because it sounds kind of crazy. When the woman told me, I was like, really? That's a thing? But it's a real thing. So why do you think networking in general has such a negative connotation? We talked a little bit about this at dinner. I mean, is it because so many people think going into networking means I'm trying to take something, when really the kind of networking that we did when we met wasn't,
right,
I'm here looking for business, I'm here looking to get something out. It's like, I'm here to help and I want to learn.
Right.
Do you think it's how we think about networking? And is that why you didn't do it earlier?
Probably not. I just think it wasn't introduced to me. For me personally, I don't even think when I was in school networking was a thing. I don't think getting out there was a thing. I think today's world might be a little harder because of social media. So many people don't get around other people. They communicate through technology, through texting, emails, social media, those kind of things. But I'm not sure what the right word is then if networking is not it. But I think to meet other people and have them in your life, professionally and personally, is a big thing.
With no intention of getting anything back.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
That to me is the piece that people get kind of backwards. I'm showing up at this event so that I can get.
Right.
As opposed to I'm showing up at this event so I can learn or inform or meet or help.
Right.
Well, you know that we could talk all day, but people have other things to do. And at some point, this is just going to go to a place that we don't want out there. So I will end by thanking you for coming on and also for trusting me with your story, because I know sharing your story isn't your favorite place.
Correct.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here and a great honor. Always great to be with you.
Yes, and awesome when you're in Minnesota. Except in a few more months in the wintertime. Then I'll meet you somewhere warm.
Then we wear our cozies.
Then we wear our cozies, which is a HeelzFirst product.
That's
Go
right.
to the website.
There you go.
I feel like we need a little jingle, a little music. We'll end the podcast like we do every episode. Is there a quote or a lyric or something that has helped to motivate you as you flipped your script?
I have a pen that I keep on my desk, a pen like a lapel pin, and it says life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So that's something I kind of have led my entrepreneurial life by, and I look at it every single day.
And it's what you do every day.
Every day now. For a long time, but every day now.
It's fantastic. Well, thank you. Again, it's so many parts of Dee's story I think resonate, including how we think about helping others, how we think about relationships, how we think about certain industries and the different stereotypes that are out there, that it's just time for them to be gone. And we've mentioned it a few times, but never stop being curious, asking questions, and don't go at it alone. My hope is Dee's story empowers you to believe you're capable of more than you think, to discover motivation, to uncover inspiration, and to find the strength to turn the page.
Thank you for listening to Flip Your Script, hosted by Kristi Piehl and produced by Media Minefield. If you like our message, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to the show, and share our episodes with your family and friends. Do you or someone you know have a story about flipping your script? We'd love to share it. Contact us on our website, flipyourscriptpodcast.com. To stay up to date on all things Flip Your Script, make sure to follow host Kristi Piehl on social media. You can also check out the website for pictures, resources mentioned in the show, and other great episodes.